lesson today is called Who is Your Neighbor? In ancient Judea, there were peoples who were of high status. They were the Levites, one of the 12 tribes. It was Moses' tribe. The priests, the Sanhedrin, and the Pharisees. The people of lower status, or those with whom no Jew would ever be associated. The Samaritans would top that list. The Sumerians, who were slavers, and Egyptians were close, but they were wealthy in their own right. In the United States, there are also people or groups of high status and low status. I am now using a true story, which I have anonymized for the gospel of the 21st century. A young black woman fell victim to muggers as she walked home one night from work in any city, USA. She was very tired from her long bus ride and still had to walk a mile to her 3-story walk-up apartment. The thieves beat her, and rather than stop there, they stripped and started to rape her, only running off when another bus stopped feet away. And they ran off, leaving her mostly naked and half dead, badly beaten about the head, and her pocketbook was open beside her. A biracial teen girl first stepped off that bus, saw what was happening, but other than checking that the pocketbook was empty, she did nothing to assist the woman on the street. Next, a black man in full Muslim scarf, but carrying a bottle of alcohol hidden in his pocket. "You okay, sister?" he drunkenly asked the barely conscious woman. "You want me to call you an Uber or something?" He laughed as he tripped over her legs and then went off. None of the apartment dwellers who could hear her cries had called the police for her. But a Jewish man, wearing full Hasidic curls and the scrolls, next came upon our girl. He saw what the others saw, but had not reacted to. The hijab scarf torn aside, baring her head, baring her breast, and violating worse than any of the attempted rape. He cried aloud at the sight of her faith being so destroyed, and he quickly called for an ambulance and police, pledging to remain with her for every moment. "My girl, I won't leave you alone for 1 second." And before anyone arrived, he took the torn hijab and covered her bareness, so that the DNA would not be altered by him placing his coat atop her, but so as to shield her. He then stood facing the street with his coat open, exposing his faith to all, which is not done in the Hasidic tradition. But my God and my fathers would not have forgiven me for standing there covered, with her so exposed to all eyes driving by. Police arrived 9 excruciating minutes later, during which he sang to her, talked to her, and let her know that she was never, ever alone. The officers had a sterile blanket, so were able to cover her to keep her warm, and so Abe, the Hasidic man, with their permission and a pair of sterile gloves, sat down on the ground next to Aaliyah's head. "Is that her name? Have you found her ID?" one officer asked. "No," Abe replied. "Her pocketbook is there. But she looks like an Aaliyah. It means beauty of spirit." So she was Aaliyah until she was later identified as Nadia. But to Abe, she would always be Aaliyah. Abe rode with Aaliyah to the hospital and stayed with her at her side, for she was now gripping his hand throughout the night. She wouldn't let go of her grandpa's savior, nor would he his Aaliyah, and the doctors said she was safe. She would not die, and they had completed the horrible SAE, Sexual Assault Exam Kit, an exam with Abe murmuring quietly to Aaliyah Nadia on the other side of the curtain to keep her calm. We will be able to catch them. We have samples of hair from multiple contributors, the forensic investigator told them. You did a good job covering her with her own hijab, and not something new. Aaliyah, Nadia, you covered me up while I was lying there. Abe responded. It was bad enough they had exposed your head and breast from the hijab, my daughter. But I could not stand by and allow you to be bare when you had your cover right there. Not when our God requires love and care to be shown to all humans. I even held my coat open and stood in front of you for 9 minutes to further limit your exposure. It was the least I could do for a child of faith. Aaliyah Nadia, I don't know how to thank you. I know what that means in your faith. Abe, I don't know. Don't you worry about that or about any bills of this day. I know you have no insurance, for that is what you have been worrying about this entire time as you've been unconscious. Whatever the Crime Victims Fund does not cover, I will pay. I have no children or family in this world. They have all gone to the ancestors, so it is my blessed honor to care for such a child as you. Then there was a racket at the doorway as a group burst in. Abba, father, mommy, cried Nadia. This is my grandpa's savior, Abe. He covered me with my hijab so I would be protected and unseen, and no evidence was destroyed. He called for help, stood in front of me, protecting me with his own body, until the police arrived, and hasn't left me alone since. I would have been so frightened without him singing and talking to me all these hours. Oh, my very own grandpa now, she cried. Mahmoud, Nadia Aaliyah's father, thanked Abe for all he had done. But you, a Hasidic Jew, she a Muslim, he asked. She is a daughter of faith, a child of God. That must be honored and recognized whenever you see it. We are all of one God. We just call him by different ancient names. When my children were killed, they were not alone, or so I comfort myself with that belief, Abe answered. Miriam, Nadia Aaliyah's mother asked, what happened to your children and family? Abe answered, they died on 11 September 2001 at work. 1 firefighter and 2 stock traders. My wife had been gone 2 years, through the breast cancer. All gone from me, but together with the ancestors. So this was the chance for God to say to me, save another's baby for them. And so I'm glad the God of my fathers gave me this chance. I can feel my David, Levi, Rebecca, and my darling Rita, so proud, smiling down on their Abe today. Nadia Aaliyah, and my Abe now too. Thanks be to our God. May the prophet be praised. Now, who are your neighbors, eh? Who will show you mercy when you are most in need? For me, it is my blessing to have fabulous Muslim young men next door, whom I call brothers of mine, and without them I could not have survived the past 2 winters. I do very small things to assist them, teaching them about things I know. like winter parking so you don't get stuck, and how to get unstuck quickly when alone. Next year, I'll have to teach them the trick of the parking brake spin, so how to get into a parking spot, eh? Blessings to you, Lord, the God of our ancestors, the one true God, by whatever name you call him, the creator of us all, in his beautiful image, and giving us to love one another. Amen.